Well, whenever I have a popular video, I like to make a follow-up, answer questions that might have been in the comments section, and there were a lot, and that video is still going. Now, one of the biggest questions people have about carnivore is, what about my cholesterol, man? Is this going to kill me? Well, there are other channels here on YouTube, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Baker, Dr. Burt. There are tons of videos. I will put some links in the description of those because I am not a doctor. I can only tell you what I've experienced and what I'm going through. I will tell you that cholesterol, okay, it will go up, but it is not your biggest worry. Let me tell you why. If you are obese and you are unhealthy, your cholesterol is the least of your problems, okay? Right now, if you have been obese any length of time, your liver is encased in fat. Your organs are being choked. Your body is struggling and working hard. You have high blood pressure. You're in trouble. So the number one thing to do is immediately stop dropping that weight. Get the pounds off. You can adjust all those other things later. But the most important thing is getting the weight off of your body. You'll be able to breathe better. Your thinking will be a lot clearer. I could never remember a 4-digit PIN number to get into do anything on my phone, or, you have to have a PIN number. Anything you do online, I couldn't remember any of those. I'd have to, man, I'm pretty sharp in the mind now. I couldn't do videos like this because my mind was clouded. I couldn't think clearly enough to talk for 5 minutes, let alone 15 or 20. And one of the best things that you will notice is if you have irregular sleep, when it comes time to go to bed, you'll sleep. When it comes time to wake up, you'll be re-energized. You'll be ready to go. You have to get into some sort of routine. Now, another question and another thing people like to talk about is, hopefully that sun doesn't pop up and blind you guys, is the cost of going carnivore. Well, let me ask you this. Can you afford not to? What is it going to cost you if you have a massive heart attack? What is it going to cost you? What is it costing you now in groceries? When you are eating only carnivore, you're going into the grocery store, and you're only going to the outside aisles. You're getting to the meat. And then if you consume any cheese, you're going there, you're getting some cheese, you're getting your eggs. Everything in the middle is irrelevant. You're not buying any of that pasta. You're not buying any of that potato chips. None of those. Now, if you do like potato chips, pork rinds. It's about all you can eat that has, anything to do with potato chips. I actually burned myself out on pork rinds. I ate them all the time. But you're going to find as you progress in carnivore, you're not going to want a snack. And if there ever is a time where I feel like, I'm getting a little hungry, but it's not time to eat yet, I'll go open a can of sardines. It's the only fish product I can really stand other than shrimp. For some reason, I can eat sardines. Now, you can get it in spring water, you can get it in olive oil. Sardines will come in a lot of things. You got to really be careful and read labels on everything. Even on carnivore, you need to read labels. They will try to hide the seed oils. Seed oils are horrible for you. Those things take almost 2 years to get out of your body. And by seed oils and oils, I'm talking about Crisco, those type things, your yellow Tilly, I am trying to do a video here. She's doing her yawning thing. I'm talking about all the oils that people cook with. Things that we have been cooking, French fries and fast food has put in our foods for the last 50 years. Now, when I was a kid, you might have, I'm 59 years old. When I was a kid in grade school, junior high, high school, you might have 2 or 3 obese students in the entire school. That was it. And unfortunately, yes, they got picked on, they got ridiculed Because back then society didn't accept overweight people. Now it's commonplace. Nobody even gives an obese person a second look. When you start losing that weight, you're going to look at these people and you're going to want to help them. And some people, no matter what you tell them, what you do, what you show them, you're not going to get through to their head. And unfortunately, they're going to suffer the consequences. Fortunately, with 2 YouTube channels like I have reached a lot of people, and a lot of people tell me all the time, man, it's the best thing I ever did. You got your own choices you can make. You don't have to lose weight. You can stay obese. You can eat, hey man, I love spaghetti. I loved Italian food, ravioli, manicotti. I loved all that stuff, but I also love life. And if I want to continue to live, I have to cut those things out of my life. Now, there is nothing wrong with once in a while. Okay, one thing you're going to discover, you want to have dinner out with your family. Now, there are places you can go and order a steak, Outback, Texas Roadhouse. You can just get a steak and things. Once in a while, I will eat something like, I will go to a Chinese restaurant and I'll dig out the meat. They put out the buffets. I'm not real. Now, I tried asking last time, what are you putting in? What are you guys cooking this in? What kind of oil? And she didn't understand anything I was telling her. So you do have to be careful. You don't want to go through all this. Go to some restaurant and eat something that was cooked in seed oils and things that are bad for you. But once in a while, if you do happen to, what I call, go off the wagon and eat a piece of pizza, it isn't the end of the world, man. Yes, you shouldn't do it, but it isn't the end of the world. You can just resume them, the next day with your routine on carnivore. There hasn't been many times I've slipped. Now, there was one time, pretty new into carnivore. I was in about 2 months and I got ice cream. Why I thought I could do that was beyond me. It didn't really have any bad effects on me, but I swore I just didn't feel good after eating that. I felt guilty and I just didn't feel good. I said, I'm never doing it again, and I haven't. I am not saying I will never eat ice cream again. I might have a scoop or two 5 years down the road. I don't know. My focus was to get the weight off my body. I went from size 42 waist jeans, and just put on these 32 waist. Actually, these are 34s and they're loose, but I did just buy some 32 waist jeans. Man, I haven't wore that since I was in the military. I'm 59 years old wearing size 32 waist because I'm eating the right foods now. I got off all the medications. Here's something to know. Now, your doctor most likely is not going to like the news that you have went carnivore. And my answer to that is, well, they don't have to know everything. When your doctor asks you, if your doctor notices you've lost weight, here's what you say. Well, I cut out all the sugar and all the carbs out of my diet. They're going to like that answer. Now, because you're not really going to suffer any health effects of carnivore other than good things that are happening to you. Doctors are not trained in nutrition today. In fact, they have less than 100 hours, from what I hear, of nutrition classes. That's it. The problem is they are not healers anymore. I don't even know if they ever were. They are not healers. They just like to prescribe medicines. Okay, the pharmaceutical companies run this country. They practically run the world along with insurance corporations. So they want you on these medications. That's big, big business. Getting people hooked, or not hooked, but getting people on these medications is big money for them. How many people do you know that are on metformin, statins, everything? I used to have that whole cupboard full of pills. Threw them all in the trash. Don't need it. But don't just do that. If you're on metformin, you start carnivore, you need to monitor your blood pressure. You need to monitor your blood sugar. I suggest if they're, I was on 500 milligram of metformin a day, and after about a month, I weaned myself down on those. I would go from one a day, and then I just finally threw them out once I seen that the readings were good. Your body will feel so much better. You will know that you're doing right. I hope this takes off even more in the country. And now one problem I'm seeing is the beef prices have just went crazy. Absolutely crazy. Ground beef in my local store is $7 a pound. Currently I'm going to be looking into buying a cow. I bought a giant freezer I have. I haven't even plugged it in yet because I can't find anybody where I can buy a whole or half cow. There's places like Butcher Block and things you can order from online, but you just don't get much for what they're charging. I like to go to Aldi. Aldi has the best quality meat for around me that I can find, better than what's in my grocery store. At least their ground meat doesn't have all that red dye in it. Ground beef isn't red like you might think it is. It's actually brown. But they add additives to make it look good, to make it last longer in the shelf. But if you have to eat that, that's still better. Watch Dr. Ken Berry. He will tell you. You can even eat bologna and things like that if you cannot afford the higher stuff. And it's all expensive, but as I said, can you afford not to live, to eat those things? You're going to find it really isn't that much more. Because number one, you're going to get full easier, and you're going to stay full. Okay, you're not going to be hungry all the time on carnivore, so you're eating less. Some people may need to eat 2 times a day. Some people only 1. If you are obese and trying to drop the pounds, try eating once a day and see if that works for you. If you're not feeling right, maybe you can have, eat a lot of eggs. Eggs are, it's like eggs are the world's most perfect food. You can cook them all kinds of ways. You can put them in everything. I like to take ground meat, scramble it up in a skillet, throw in a little bacon grease, bust about 4 or 5 eggs on top, make like an egg scramble, and then I'll eat about half of that, put the other half away for the next day. Bacon is very good for you, nutritious. The grease is very good for you, nutritious. Yes, you've been taught wrong all your life about bacon. We have been led to believe bacon will give us heart attacks and give us strokes, and that's just not true. It's just not true. My suggestion is try it for 30 days. Try carnivore, strict carnivore, 30 days. Okay, there's a variety. You can eat any kind of meat, pork, chicken, beef, seafood. There are plenty of meats you can eat. I do eat a few cheeses. I'll eat cheddar cheese. There are certain cheeses you shouldn't eat. American cheese is not cheese. Do not touch American cheese. That is garbage. I used to love American cheese on everything. I just watched a video this morning on my other channel that I made a couple years ago where I'm giving my dogs a piece of American cheese. Not only was I eating the wrong things, but I was feeding my dogs the wrong things. And now I have them on carnivore. They have more energy. They're feeling better. Now, I have one dog. She won't eat meat. She's picky, but I do other things for her. They're eating good stuff. So just don't think of you. Think of your dogs as well. If your dogs, let me get that sun out of your beaks. You don't want sun in your beaks. So it just gives you a whole new way of thinking. But the number one thing, don't worry about the cholesterol. Go watch his videos. He has so many videos about the cholesterol question, the top questions people ask about carnivore. I'll have links in the description. You need to get the weight off. That's number one. When that weight goes away, you start burning all that fat off, and then your liver starts to function better. Your kidneys will feel better. If you have problems going to the bathroom, you're going to get regular. Yep. You'll go less, and You know, it's just, ooh, anyway, I don't want to talk about that. But you'll notice a few things. Your urine will stink. Yep, that's part of it. I don't know why. He's got videos on that too. But, you know, what are the pros and what are the cons? You got to weigh them out. The pros certainly outweigh the cons. I just feel great, man. I mean, you guys can go back in my videos and see who I was and what I looked like. And I could not walk 10 feet and talk at the same time because I would be out of breath. In yesterday's video, I did insert a few clips of that. I was just terrible. And I started walking around the property like I'm going to lose weight that way. But then I would go in and eat the same foods I always ate. And on top of that, I was drinking alcohol several times a week. You cannot drink alcohol on carnivore. I would not suggest it. You're consuming you just can't do it. You got to finally give your body a break. You got to give those things up. You will find, you know, I used to think how I couldn't imagine a weekend without my beer or without my whiskey. I could not imagine how boring that would be. And then as I got older, I'm like, I started enjoying because I never drank during the week, only on the weekends, but I started enjoying my evenings during the week. And I'm like, why don't I do this on the weekend? Why am I drinking on the weekend? And I had a few incidents where one time I fell and I got wedged in between the hot water or the water heater and a freezer. And I was so drunk, I couldn't even get up. And I laid there for I don't know how long until I could finally get out of there. I busted some ribs, and then I had some other things go on, and I'm like, you know what? I can't drink anymore. And that was February of 2024, the last time I had a drink. And I don't have cravings for that. I don't miss it. I've learned how to live without it. I've learned how to live without spaghetti. I mean, when I made spaghetti, let me tell you, I made a mountain on my plate, and I'd probably go back and get a second plate. And I would eat that for 3 days straight. Grilled cheese sandwiches, make those all the time. So many things we eat are so bad for us, but we've been conditioned that those are normal foods that we eat, and they're not. You go to a Walmart, go to the grocery store, sit in your parking lot, okay? Sit in the parking lot of your store for 20 minutes and observe everybody that goes in and out. Look at them. Look how obese most people are. 50% of Americans are obese. I would say the number's probably higher, but generally about 50% of all Americans could stand to lose some weight. And then you're going to notice what they're putting in their carts. I try not to judge people. I try not to. But you can't help looking at somebody that's obese, and then automatically your eyes are going to go to their cart. And you're like, in your mind, you're thinking, that's why you're obese. Yeah, you got 4 cases of Coca-Cola, 16 bags of Doritos. That's why you're obese. But what do? You can't just look at somebody in the store and say, excuse me, you know you're obese because of that? You can't do that. So that's why I put videos out like this, okay? You people who are obese, and I was one of them, you know that you're obese. You know that the foods you're eating are making you obese. You just got to muster up the willpower to say that's enough of that. And what is even worse is people are feeding all this to their children, and children are now obese. I go to town, and these kids are waiting out at the bus stop, and I'm just shocked at how many of them, 7, 8, 9 years old, are little pork balls. They're obese. And they're obese because their parents are feeding them these macaroni and cheese dinners, anything that's microwavable, and all the wrong foods. And they're allowing them to drink soft drinks at will. When I was a kid, we could have one on Saturday, and that's it, one. That was all we were allowed unless we went to a restaurant, which was very rare, maybe a couple times a month. We weren't allowed to eat all that stuff. There wasn't junk food in our house. Today, families are filling their entire cupboards full of nothing but junk. And it's sad, and that needs to change. And thank God, and you know, people are making moves up at the upper levels to change some of that. They are aware these things are happening. And I can't wait for that day to really happen. But not everybody wants to change. Not everybody is unhappy because they're obese until something medically happens to them. And then maybe it's a wake-up call. Even then, some people just ain't gonna get it, man. You can't help everybody. But by making these videos, if I just help one of you guys, you know, if this message gets to one of you, and a year from now, and this has happened already, a year from now, somebody messages me, hey man, you saved my life. I watched your video and I decided I'm gonna go carnivore. You don't have to do it for the rest of your life. You can do it, and then you can start adding a little vegetables back in. You know, it's just to get the weight off. But you're gonna find, you're gonna wanna just continue it because you feel so good. You feel so good, so. All right, well, this video is going a little long. I hope I answered some questions. You know, give it a try, 30 days. I will promise you, you will not have any negative effects. In fact, you will probably want to keep going and going and going. And there are also videos Dr. Ken Berry made about if you cannot afford carnivore, okay? He made a video about what you can eat and what you can do. You don't have to buy potato chips. You don't have to buy soft drinks. You don't have to buy Swiss cake rolls. So just those things alone will help. Eliminate the carbs, eliminate the sugar, healthier life. Thanks for watching. Happy trails.